Fantastic final, unbelievable tournament. Time to debrief the whole thing. What we witnessed in the 2025 US Open final is both an incredible performance of Carlos Alcaraz and a poor performance of Jannik Sinner compared to his level the rest of the year and throughout the whole tournament. I think he was not even close to his level, and one figure just speaks by itself. Is the percentage of first serve, the percentage of points after his first serve, his second serve. His baseline game when he's in control is much better than 99% of the players. Exception, only one, Carlos Alcaraz. But if he doesn't serve a percentage of first serve that is usual, he's always on a second serve, so he's always in danger. And he was always in danger whenever he was serving. And on the other hand, you had a Carlos Alcaraz who served a much higher percentage of first serve with more quality. So if you look at the whole match, Jannik Sinner had one opportunity to break Alcaraz the whole match, because of the quality of the serve of Alcaraz. On the other hand, I mean, most of the games when Sinner was serving were at 30-all. Most of the games. Alcaraz had 11 break points throughout the whole match and broke him many times. So I think first the performance on the serve is a key element in that final, a key element. And it's interesting because a few days ago I posted a video on social media talking about Alcaraz serve and how much it improved and how much it helped his game and his consistency, by the way, also. Serve was a key. I agree that Carlos' serve first and second are better than what it was in the past. I would say the biggest improvement with his serve is accuracy, percentage, and confidence. The stats of Alcaraz during this US Open on the serve were incredible. If we look at the last three Grand Slam finals, Roland Garros, Wimbledon, US Open, all three in the final had Alcaraz against Sinner. The one of Roland Garros was the only of the three in which both of the players played 100% of their level. In Wimbledon, Jannik played great, but Alcaraz was not even close to his usual level. And at the US Open, Carlos played great, but Jannik was not even close to his usual level, which explains exactly the scenario of those three finals. In Roland Garros, both of them were at the top of their game, and we saw the scenario and how close it was. If you listen to Carlos during the match in Wimbledon, talking to his box, Carlos is basically saying the guy is playing too good, I have no solutions, and that's how he felt. He felt helpless during that final. The reason? I don't know, it's difficult to explain. But it looked like Sinner had all the solution against Alcaraz during the match. And Alcaraz couldn't really hurt Jannik. Carlos lacked aggressiveness during that final. He didn't score a lot of winners as he usually does. But on the other hand, Sinner was serving incredibly well and he was super aggressive, and in a way he didn't let Carlos play his game. But now when you look at the US Open final, it's exactly the opposite. Thanks to the quality of the serve of Carlos and the fact that Sinner was not serving a lot of first serves, Carlos was super dominant on his service games and going for a lot of winners and hitting a lot of winners. And when he was returning Jannik's serve, as Jannik was serving a really low amount of first serves, Jannik was under pressure all the time because Carlos was super aggressive on second serves. Third element to explain that final of the US Open, Carlos spoke about it, his team spoke about it. He watched a lot of videos of Jannik.
I watched a lot of his matches.
And I feel that he had a very clear idea about what to do, how to do it. And Sinner said it also after the match in press conference. He said, I felt that he was reading my game because I was too predictable and I have to start to do new things.
I was very predictable today.
Which is probably true. I don't think that Jannik is predictable, and even if he is, he's doing what he's doing so well that even though you know, it's difficult to find an answer to what he's doing. But when it comes to Carlos, if he knows what Jannik is going to do, he has the solutions. And I think this is also the victory of preparation. I think the preparation of Carlos was unbelievable, and he knew by heart the type of tennis Jannik plays and also how he plays. Combination of shots. When the ball lands here, where he hits the ball most of the time. And he could read the game, and he was there before. A lot of times in the match, Jannik had a shot that he should have hit a winner, but Carlos anticipated, and he could bring the ball back or hit or counterpunch him. And that also pushed Yannick to make unforced errors on shots that usually he was not. Because you know, at that level, when you prepare the shot and you're ready to play on that spot, and you see in the background your opponent moving there already, it affects the quality of your shot because you think, oh, he's there already. And you start to think, where usually he never thinks. When he has the ball to finish, he goes full, and he does, all the time. You've seen those mistakes that are unusual. So yeah, I mean, I think he was not on a good day, Yannick, and it affected his percentage of serve and a lot of other things, but I think also Carlos was reading him so well in that match. I think this Wimbledon final was the best thing that happened to Carlos. Because if you think about it, when Yannick won that Wimbledon final, he was 1 point away from winning 4 Grand Slams in a row. 1 point away. Because if he would have won that match point at Roland Garros, he would have won the 4 Grand Slams in a row. Yannick was really the boss. He was the boss. Why this Wimbledon final was so important? Because of the feeling that Carlos had in this final. He had the feeling that Yannick was really overpowering him, was better than him, was playing faster than him, that he had no solutions. And I think it was a wake-up call for him. Very important wake-up call. And after that final, he thought, okay, this guy is starting to be better than me. I can't let this happen. And that was key in his decision to start working on new things and improving. By the way, same attitude from Yannick in press conference after the final. I realized I'm too predictable. I realized basically that Carlos has the solutions. I need to improve. I need to be more unpredictable. I'm prepared to do the job. I'm going to do it even during the matches, even if it makes me lose a few matches. Same attitude of the biggest champions. Yannick believes that he needs to be more unpredictable. He said it during the press conference after the match. Even if he's not unpredictable, he's winning easily the immense majority of the matches throughout the year. Now, if he needs to be more unpredictable, as he says, he will have to do many more drop shots, many more serve and volley, probably change the pace also, which he never does. This is what he wants to do. And he said he's prepared to lose matches sometimes to do it. Why? Because what you work in practice, if you don't do it during the matches, you don't progress on that. If you don't do it during the matches, you're not going to do it in a Grand Slam final. And that's why he said he might lose some matches because it's not something that he masters that well. But he knows he has to do it and is prepared to pay the price for the progress that he needs to do in order to beat Alcaraz in the future. I think during the indoor season, we'll see Yannick Sinner do many more serve and volley, many more drop shots, and probably also change the pace. Not play everything super fast, close to the line at the same rhythm, but more break the pace, reaccelerate. I think he's going to do it much more during the indoor season. After this Wimbledon final, Carlos knew that there were 3 things he needed to fix. First, have a better serve. Same percentage, but more accurate, more efficiency after the serve. During this US Open, unbelievable. Second, more variety. If you play Sinner everything at the same rhythm, he will never miss a shot. And he plays close to the lines, he plays fast. You need to be more unpredictable. You need to change the pace. You need to go fast and slow, then fast. You need to put him in trouble, make him play shorter and have more options to dominate the court. And third, his attitude during that final. He didn't like his attitude. He was closed, he was negative. He had this feeling, oh, the guy is too good. And a champion cannot think that. You know, it can happen. But he knows that if he wants to win many more majors, he cannot think the guy is better than him that day. He should think, I'm gonna find the solutions. That's what they do. So Carlos changed those 3 elements. He's the US Open winner. And until the final, he didn't lose 1 single set. I know it can be shocking for people to think, wow, in 3 weeks, how can you make such a change? Those guys are not normal. I always said it. And when you work with young players, some players are able, you make a technical change and they do it like this. And you think, wow, that's crazy. Usually it takes 3 months. But this is the difference between guys who are top level and the other ones. It's faster. Serve +1, return +1. These are the 4 most important shots in tennis. This US Open final was the proof that those 4 shots are the most important in modern tennis. The immense majority of the rallies are won within the first 4 shots. Serve, return, +1 or +2. It gives the opportunity to dictate, to be in charge, rather than to be the one moving and having to defend. So in modern tennis, serve, serve +1, return, return +1, the 4 most important shots in this game. If you look at the Roland Garros final, most of the moments when Carlos really struggled during the match was when he was not serving well, not efficient on serve +1, struggling to return. That's where his game was affected that much. Coming back to this documentary, during which Juan Carlos expressed that he was worrying for Carlos' future because he was not serious enough, and that probably he didn't really want it to become the greatest. And actually, in this documentary, Carlos himself was saying, "Yeah, I want it, but I don't want it as so much. I think it's more important to be a good person, to have a good life, to be happy, etc." I think this moment, it's a crisis between player and coach. It happens in everybody's life. I don't know what happened after that, but actually the fact that they expressed it, both of them helped. They found a compromise, and I think probably Carlos knows he needs to be very serious about his practice, about his matches, about everything professional if he wants to become what he can become and express his potential. And I think Juan Carlos also understood that he's young and he needs also time off and enjoy. And I think it's a winning combination. If you have, of course, most of the moments where you give 100% and you focus 100% and you give everything you have and you work hard and you fight like an animal during matches, but you have also moments when you can relax, have fun, live life. Then when the guy comes back, and we saw it after this Wimbledon final, that was obvious. He took 2 weeks off, probably partied or had fun, and when he came back, he was mentally rested and he worked extremely hard. And during this whole US Open, you could feel he was happy because he had his time off, he had fun, be rested physically, but more mentally. And then when he came back, he was fully focused. I honestly haven't seen Carlos so focused at every match during Grand Slam. So I think in a way, the fight that they had helped both, helped Carlos even give more, but also get the time off he needed, and helped Juan Carlos understand a bit better his player and what he needs. I think last year was a great lesson. After the Olympics, Carlos didn't take a lot of time off. This year, after Wimbledon, he really rested, and you saw he was so fresh during the whole US swing. Made a big difference. They learned how to deal with time on, time off, time on, time off, and that's a key element for performance. What's happening now is very interesting, and because it reminds me of the time when Roger and Rafa were dominating tennis so much before Novak came in. I think we are exactly in the same period of time at the moment, with Carlos and Yannick dominating so much, playing all the Grand Slam finals, and winning the matches so easily. Carlos didn't lose a single set before the final. Yannick wins most of the matches during the season quite easily. So you have two guys who are really way above the rest of the crowd, way above. It was the same when Roger and Rafa were dominating at the start of their career. Everybody thought they were unbeatable. And I think that's exactly the feeling that most of the players have at the moment, that those two guys are unbeatable. I always tell the story of young Novak coming up and thinking and saying actually out loud, he's gonna beat those two guys and be the best. And nobody believed in that, and all the top tens were thinking it's impossible. We probably are looking for that guy, the third one, if he exists, that believes deep inside himself, those guys are not unbeatable because nobody is, and I'm going to be the one defeating them. If I was coaching a guy a bit younger than Carlos and Yannick, who had the potential to potentially be top 5 in the world, and potentially beat them, why not? What would I tell him? First of all, I will tell him the story of Novak, when Roger and Rafa were unbeatable and that everyone was seeing them as unbeatable, because he will understand that there are always possibilities, even though it looks like there is none. But I think this player will have to believe himself. I don't think Novak was counting on someone to tell him you can do it. I think deep inside him, he had this confidence that made me think, I'm good enough to beat anybody and nobody's gonna stop me. Even though those two guys look unbeatable, I will find a way. This is something that people have or don't have Like most of the people don't, the immense majority of the people will not believe they can beat them. But there is maybe one guy today in this game that has this inside himself. Of course, I would encourage that in him if he believes, but not many guys believe now. If you look at the stats, Carlos is in advance compared to anybody else in the history. He's 22 and a half years old. He won 6 Grand Slams on 3 different surfaces. If you look at the figures, since his first Grand Slam win in 2022 US Open, he won 1 Grand Slam out of 2. He won 6, Sinner 4, Novak 3. That's a rhythm that is incredible. That means 2 a year. He's 22, he's going to play at least 10 more years, probably 15 now because the careers are much longer. If he keeps the same rhythm, he's going to beat the record of all times. Of course, it's early to think about that. He's 22 years old, he has 6 Grand Slams. But if you consider the fact that he's achieved more at that age than anybody in the history, the quality of his game, his physical abilities, his incredible motivation, we can already think about it. Of course, anything can happen. He can get bad injuries. Maybe Sinner is going to find solutions against him in the future. But those 2 guys are constantly pushing each other. So this is going to be the story of the next 10, 15 years. This fight between the two guys progressing, the 2 guys knowing each other better and finding solutions, and maybe a 3rd guy is going to enter. Who knows? So that's why it's a bit early to think about that, but I just want people to realize that Carlos is on a pace to become the best of all times. The stats showed this year that 1 woman is hitting shots faster than Alcaraz and Sinner, and this year it's Amanda Anisimova. I'm not surprised when it comes to her backhand because it's a shot she trusts 1,000,000%. She goes full and she doesn't apply spin. The ball is very low over the net and travels faster because there is no spin, so there is less security, more risk, more pace. But the stats also say that her forehand is faster than the 2 others. Why her? First, her court position, very close to the line and stepping in. Second, the level of risk. She's a very high risk player. If there is one player to compare her with, would be Ostapenko. And her timing, like Pegula. For me, they are the 2 players with the best timing on tour. Easy power. They have such a timing, so they hit the ball perfectly every time, and this produces incredible pace. But the thing is, yes, there are women that hit shots faster than Alcaraz and Sinner, even though it's difficult to believe, but with a much higher percentage of risk, much higher. And it's not a bad idea when it comes to women's tennis, because men move incredibly fast. So to open the court fast in the women's game early in the rally is often a very good tactic. Aryna won that final here, for sure. She was better than Amanda in most of the decisive moments of the match, and it was a huge challenge for her for many reasons. First of all, because of the scenario of the last 2 Grand Slam finals that she lost, and the fact that she was unable in those 2 finals to play her level, and that's why she lost them. And also she get discouraged a lot, especially in the final of Roland Garros against Coco. So many times she was showing it. She was showing her discouragement, and this affected her game more and more and more. And I think she took the lesson. I think this final of the US Open for Sabalenka was probably the most important match of her career, because if this would have happened again, it would probably have affected her future, her Grand Slam finals in the future. Now, the fact that she has been able to correct what went wrong in the last 2 finals to win this one is an incredible victory for her, and that's also why she was so emotional after winning, because she turned 2 mental disabilities to win a Grand Slam final into an incredible ability to win this one. And it was a big challenge also because On the other side of the court was Anisimova, American in the US, nothing to lose, and playing incredible tennis. And if you look at the start of the match, she starts like a bomb. Anisimova starts with winners all over the place, which creates a feeling of insecurity even much higher. That's why I said for Arena, the challenge in that final was even bigger than anyone can think of. She knows how important that final is for future. She failed in the last 2 Grand Slam finals, and she plays someone who just crushes her with winners all over the place from the very start and plays crazy fast. And she will have to stay calm, not panic, and find solutions. So the challenge that she succeeded in that US Open final, unbelievable. And I think this victory will bring many more for Arena.